some mystical visions of ancient giants by the Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich, or known as Anna Katharina Emmerich. She lived between 1774 and 1824. She was a Roman Catholic Augustinian canoness. She was born in Flaschen, a farming community in Westphalia, Germany, died at the age of 49, where she had been a nun and later became bedridden. Emmerich experienced visions on the life and passion of Jesus Christ, reputed to be revealed to her by the Blessed Virgin Mary under religious ecstasy. And during her bedridden years, a number of well-known figures were inspired to visit her. The poet Clemens Brentano interviewed her at length and wrote 2 books based on his notes on her visions. The authenticity of Brentano's writings has been questioned, and critics characterize the books as conscious elaborations by a poet and a well-intentioned fraud by Brentano. Emmerich was beatified on October 3rd, 2004 by Pope John Paul II, but the Vatican focused on her own personal piety rather than the religious writings associated to her by Clemens Brentano. Now, she had many visions on ancient giants. The portrait she draws surprises with its realism and its sense of detail. Quote, "One of Cain's descendants was Tubal-Cain, from whom varied arts came, and also the giants. I have often seen that at the time of the fall of the angels, some of them did not fall as low as the others, and they settled on a very high, solitary, inaccessible mountain, which became a sea during the deluge. I believe it is the Black Sea." This is what she says. And she goes on to say, "These rebellious angels could act upon men when they moved away from God." In other words, they were demons, all right? When you start sinning, of course, you're going to have them trying to get in you and guiding your life into the wrong path, of course. So she says, these rebellious angels could act upon men when they moved away from God. After the deluge, they left this place and dispersed in the air. It is only at the last judgment that they will be precipitated into hell. I saw the descendants of Cain become ever more impious and sensual. They came closer and closer to this mountain, and the fallen angels possessed many of their wives. They dominated them and taught them all the arts of seduction. Their children were very great, had all kinds of gifts and abilities, and made themselves the instruments of evil spirits. Thus a perverse race was born on this mountain and far in the vicinity, who sought to bring Seth's descendants into his world of vices using force and seduction. And we know that Seth was the 3rd child of Adam and Eve. He was born in place of Abel. He was, of course, very pious and righteous. But still, they were after him and his descendants to bring them away from God. Now she goes on to say, it was then that God announced the flood to Noah, who had to endure terrible torments on the part of his people while he was building the ark. I have seen many things about this giant people, how they dragged enormous rocks very easily up to the top of the mountain, how they climbed higher and higher, how they performed the most astonishing things. They climbed along the walls or trunks of trees, as I have seen done by other possessed people. They could do all sorts of things, and most amazing ones. But it was only mockery and artifice which occurred with the help of the devil. This is why all the magic tricks and all the divinatory arts are also unbearable to me. In other words, she says that these giants were using magic, the devil's arts and machinations. She said they could make all sorts of figures of stone and metal, but of the science of God they had no vestiges and sought anything to worship. I saw that they suddenly began to draw a statue of a proper stone and adore it, or any horrible beast, or even something that represented nothing. They knew everything, saw everything, prepared poison, indulged in sorcery and all vices. The women discovered the music. I saw them wandering to seduce the best races and draw them into their depravities. I saw that they did not have dwelling houses or towns, but that they built large round towers of mica-like stone, at the foot of which were built smaller buildings that led to vast caverns where they celebrated their orgies. You could walk around the roof of the buildings and walk around the towers and climb to the top of the towers to see the distance through some tubes. They were not like telescopes, but by a satanic process. They saw where the other countries were and went there, destroying everything, liberating everything, abolishing all laws, and it was this freedom which they instilled everywhere. I saw that they sacrificed children by burning them alive. God destroyed this mountain during the deluge. Okay, this was the pagan way of life was just terrible. This is what, of course, God wanted to stop. She said, do not be surprised to find this text in the Saga of Eden. That honor belongs to it. Not that I suddenly became a great adept of Cathos and their bailiffs, but for the indisputable quality of vision. For more information on the author, please click here. I am particularly interested in the original content. Now we go to he talks about the Black Mountain. Visionary Emmerich, since she had visions, it's legitimate that I call her clairvoyant, even if she refuses all the magic tricks and all the divinatory arts which are unbearable to her. Where she was to wear this label. The clairvoyant thus furnishes us with details which do not appear in the canonical texts, whose bookish knowledge is reversed for very few researchers, among whom it would be astonishing that she counted. These rare and even unpublished details are the only ones that merit examination. The result is favorable. Over the course of 30 years of research on these issues, I have arrived at quite similar conclusions. Better still, I was able to corroborate my conclusions with visions obtained by traveling on the timeline. In all points, these visions are in line with those of Christian mysticism. I do not share the faith nor the conclusions she draws from her visions, derived from her inventory, her database dominated by the Catholic faith, he says. Only facts matter. Tubal-Cain was a blacksmith, a gigantic one. He is derived not from the gods of the Bible, but from the Cyclops of Greek mythology. From one mythology to another, the bridges are numerous, and the comparisons revealing. To make him a father of the race of giant bastards is simply brilliant, even if it's only the giants of Palestine, which is not the only spot where giants reigned. There were some on the whole earth. The Cyclopean constructions, the megaliths and the pyramids, these are their works. When our mystic was seeing that the giants were climbing along the walls or trunks of trees, it's difficult to imagine the size that these tree trunks must have. No doubt they looked like the Devil's Tower, and you'll see that video just before this one. The Devil's Tower in Wyoming. It was found to have it's a petrified tree. It seems it has a system of petrified roots that the scientists found 4 miles deep and 7 miles wide. Can you imagine how, if the tree was as big as these roots, can you imagine how tall this petrified tree, the Devil's Tower in Wyoming, was? So you can see that video right before this one. So these speculations are recent. Anna Emmerich was ignorant of everything, yet she was right. She saw these because, as we said, it was before the scientists talked about the findings of the Devil's Tower, and as we said, she died in 1824. So she didn't know of these findings. Now going back, she said when she evokes their villages where they lived with these large stone towers similar to mica, which had mica, we immediately made the connection with these insulating layers of mica at the foot of the pyramids of Teotihuacan in Mexico. And they said that there was mica in there to make it easily charged with electricity. So this mica has been discovered recently, so it's impossible for Anna Emmerich to know about it in her day. Yet she talks about the mica in their towers. Women discovered music, she tells us. According to a Shivaite tale, Shiva wanted to lighten the great suffering of Kali Yuga by offering humans a precious gift unknown until then, music. Another resemblance. Would the Christian clairvoyant Anna Emmerich have read this tale, yet unknown in her day, about the Kali Yuga and the music? Because not yet translated into her language. It wasn't translated into her language, in German. As for the terrible and solitary mountain that welcomes the fallen angels, it evokes to be mistaken the vertiginous peak of ancient tales and modern as well. The ancient Black Mountain, which the deluge will change in the Black Sea, the Black Mountain, not so much by its dark color, but by the terrible blackness of its hosts, the formidable giant enemies of humans. So let no one be mistaken. There were also benevolent giants, maybe the same, but the biblical Christian version is totally integrated with the faith of our clairvoyant who interprets the facts according to her belief. And as we know, clairvoyance and belief rarely combine. The great loser is always objectivity. So please tell me what you think of this. I think it was fascinating that she was able to see things even before she knew of them. The mica in their towers, and also of the music being discovered and created by women. This is on Eden Saga by Xavier Séguin, and it's concerning the awakening of consciousness, mystic vision of ancient giants by the Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich. And I'll leave links below for you for this. This is Creative Commons. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.